Thank you for coming to Hare Krishna Valley. My name is Kesava. I live here at Hare Krishna Valley. And this is my sidekick, Dharmitai. Together we help to run this place, Hare Krishna Valley, with my good wife, Atuya, our friends George, Mahalakshmi. There's a small crew who help here. Our Wolfer friends. Thank you for coming from Belgium. So today we can answer some questions. If anyone has any questions about spiritual life, about the meaning of life, about deeper questions, then we can try to give some answers, some clarity on things. So, does anyone have any questions they would like to ask about spiritual topics?
We had a discussion about today morning. But what is the difference between, from a yoga perspective, what is yoga? What is bhakti yoga, karma yoga, and jnana yoga? Is there a difference between them all, or is it all one and the same? I'd love to hear
about that. Yeah. It's a very good question. We could speak for about 2 hours on that. We won't speak quite that long, but we'll speak something on. So first of all, the question is, what is yoga? Has everyone heard of this word, yoga? What does this word mean to you? What does it mean, yoga?
Exercise.
What's that?
Exercise. No.
Exercise.
No. Balancing your meridians and chakras.
So your meridians and chakras, yeah. It could be one definition of yoga. Some people say exercise.
Union of the individual soul with the super soul.
Yeah, union, very good. That's a nice definition. What else?
Link, I think it's...
Link, yeah, to link. Very good. Very good. You've been reading? Did you finish the Bhagavad Gita?
I've read it several times now.
Several times, okay. You should be sitting here.
Including in commentary, but no, definitely not.
You have to open a temple over there in Anglesey.
Well, the Kundalini opens your third eye. Yeah.
Third eye, yeah, yoga. Yeah,
Yeah.
different things. Yes. So these days, yoga in the West, generally people identify that as asana. Asana means bodily postures. You'll do different postures. You'll go to a yoga class, they'll teach you postures. And they'll usually teach you the next step, which is called pranayama. Pranayama means control of the breath. So basically in the West, people identify this is what yoga is. It means you do some postures, which makes your body flexible and feel healthy. And then you control your breath, you breathe deeply. Breath is connected to the mind. So when you breathe deeply, what happens to your mind?
calms down.
Calms down, becomes peaceful. Yeah, like that. Relaxes. So when you breathe properly and deeply, so people, they learn this and they think this is the goal. The goal is just to be peaceful. But that is not the goal of yoga. That is actually the beginning of yoga. Yoga actually comes from a great teacher who lived thousands of years ago. His name was Patanjali. So you may have heard of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. This is where yoga actually comes from. He taught Ashtanga Yoga. So Ashta, what does the word Ashta mean? 8. So asana is one of the limbs and pranayama is another limb. So that's only 2 limbs. These days people think yoga is just these 2 things. You breathe and you do some asana and that's it. But that is just the beginning. Actually, that's step 3 and 4. That's not 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's not 1 or 2 either. So, yoga by definition these days, people are confused what yoga means. The word yoga, as Steve said, actually means union or linking, as Andrew said. To link, to unite. That is the meaning of yoga. Like yoke, when we yoke the horse. And we take the horse and we connect it to the cart with the yoke. So this is called connection, yoke. Or yoga means the same thing. It means to connect one thing to another thing. And when those 2 things are connected, that is called yoga. So these days, people, they practice yoga And they don't understand what the whole goal of the yoga is. The goal of yoga is not just to make your mind peaceful. Peace of mind is the beginning of spiritual life. That's why you do it. You do some asana, you do some breathing, and then your mind's peaceful. Okay, now your mind's peaceful. Now we can do something with you. If your mind is not peaceful, it's very hard to work with you. It's like if you're working with clay, if you're a potter, does anyone work with clay? Yeah, so you work with clay. You make some pots and things like that. So you have to have the clay in the right, it has to have the right constitution. Or it has to have the right, it has to be of the right texture. Then you can mold it. So same with the mind, the heart. Unless it's correct, it's in the right position. If not, it's peaceful. It's hard to progress with it. We can't do much. These days, this is the age of Kali. Kali Yuga. People from India know this is Kali Yuga. People from the West, they also know it's Kali Yuga. They didn't know that's what it was called. They thought it was called 2017. Happy New Year. But actually it's called Kali Yuga. The word Kali means dark. Kali means black, dark. This is the dark age. There were 3 ages before this, according to the Vedic teachings, the ancient teachings from India, where the world was much more peaceful. In this age, it is dark. And you don't have to take my opinion. You don't have to believe what I say. And just turn on the television, you'll see how dark it is. Just watch the news at night. I don't have a television, right? Why? Because televisions cause depression. I don't have television. No? These days, this is the guru. Put the television on, the whole family comes, and they say, yes, Guru Maharaj. What should I do? And television says, go here, go there, do this, do that, like that. And you say, yes, Guru Maharaj, and then do whatever the guru says. I don't have television, because I don't listen to that guru, because it makes you depressed. There's a dark age. So the nature of this age is people's minds are always disturbed. Just like I went to the bank on Friday. I had to drop some money into the bank. We did some catering job in Torquay. Had some money, so I put it into the account, send it to our temple in Melbourne. So I walked in the bank and I forgot the number for the account. So it was a line. So then one man was there, and I said to him, he's an older man, I just said, can you just save my spot? I'll just quickly, take me 2 minutes, I'll come back. So I ran out, came back, and then he was saving the spot. And then another man had come in the meantime, and he was standing there. And the older man said, excuse me, I was saving this spot for him. And he turned around and he said, I'm not moving. Got totally aggressive. So I said to the old man, just let him go. It's okay. His mind is disturbed. We can't do anything with him. Because his mind is too like this. This is what it's like in this age. We can't do anything with people. I can speak all this spiritual knowledge, but people can't understand it because their minds are so crazy. And they think unimportant things are important. They think things which are not important are very valuable or very important. And when people are thinking like that and they're acting like that, you can't do very much with them. So in this age of Kali, people are always disturbed. So they do some yoga, they go to some yoga class, they do some breathing, they become a little bit peaceful and they think that is the goal. That's not the goal, that's just the beginning. Peace is just the beginning. But yoga means to connect to the Supreme, our source, the origin of everything. In our Vedic teachings we say Krishna. We believe God is a person. Hands up here if you're a person. Okay, I've got about half the audience. The other half I'm not sure what you are, but we'll feed you anyway. I don't know where it goes or anything, but it's like... We're people, right? That's just basic understanding. We are people. So God is also a person. He's not just a light or an energy. He's a person. But what does he look like? You need someone who can tell you. What does he look like? According to the ancient teachings of India, he looks like this. He's a bluish cowherd boy. Believe it or not, that's your choice. But why is he a bluish cowherd boy? Because I've thought about this for many, many, many years. And it makes sense to me. Yes, I would be a cowherd boy also. Imagine you didn't have to work ever again. Imagine if you lived in a world where everything was free and you did not have to work, and you can spend all day on the bank of the river with the cows and with Krishna, with God, just having a picnic. Hands up if you would like that, opposed to working in Collins Street. Okay, so this is our choice. Because originally we were living with Krishna, with God, in the spiritual world, but then we broke off, we were the rebels, we left, and we came here to Denmark. And we landed in Denmark, away from Krishna, right? And now we're trying to enjoy ourselves. The goal of life is enjoyment, but you can't enjoy so much in this world. It's not designed for enjoyment. We left the spiritual world where everything was happy. You came to this material world, which is Dukhalaya, and Dukhalaya, just like in India you have Himalaya, means the place of the mountain, Himalaya, up the northern side. Dukhalaya means the place of dukkha, misery. That's where we are now. Krishna said, okay, you go. You want to be away from me? No problem, go. But then when we got here, we say, well, wait a minute, it's not that good. My car breaks down. And my wife isn't always nice to me. Not my wife, I'm not saying. But sometimes things don't always work in the material world. We came here to enjoy, but we're not having such a good time. Does anyone know what I'm talking about here tonight? Okay, one or two people. So in this material world we left Krishna, we left God, we came here. And then, in this dark age, when we just become a little bit peaceful, we think that's the goal, but the goal of yoga is to reunite with Krishna. Now, how do you reunite with Krishna? In other words, how do you unite with anyone? How do you develop a friendship with anyone? We want to become friends with Krishna, friends with God. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, I'm speaking this to you, Bhaktosi me sakacheti. Because bhakta, you have devotion or love for me, and sakha, you're my friend. You can only exchange something intimately with a friend. You don't tell your enemies your confidential secrets in your heart. Right? Only when someone is a close friend, sukhrit. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktaram jagatapasam, Savaloka maheshwaram, Suridam, Savabhutanam. Surit means your closest friend. Krishna says, Savabhutanam, I am the friend of everyone. So when we are friendly towards Krishna, then he reveals himself to us. That's the goal of the yoga. So how do we connect with Krishna? Through seva. You have to do something. If you love someone, you have to do something for them, isn't it? You can't just say, I love you, but don't do anything. Right? Just like you say to your wife, I love you, and then after a few days she says, well, why don't you go and get a job? Why don't you wash the dishes? And we'll talk about these things later. But, why don't you do something? Love is expressed through action. Words, action, thoughts. But thoughts have to manifest through action and words. So with Krishna, we have to do action and words. And that forms the relationship. That is yoga. Yoga means union. So the question is, what is yoga? So now we're defining yoga. And now the second question is, what is bhakti yoga, karma yoga, and jnana yoga? Very good. So the Bhagavad Gita, has anyone heard of this book? The Bhagavad Gita. In India, this is like the Bible, the most famous book of knowledge. We have for sale in our shop. If you want to buy, just go to our shop. You can buy Bhagavad Gita. You can read it. So we base our life on these teachings. Beautiful teachings, spoken by Krishna himself, God himself. So the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita are called Karma Yoga. The last 6 chapters are called Jnana Yoga. And the middle 6 chapters, you keep the good stuff in the middle. You guard it on either side. You protect things which are valuable. In the middle is Bhakti Yoga. So first there is Karma Yoga. Karma means work, activity. We all have to do something. Right? You can't, Krishna says in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in the Karma Yoga section, Krishna says you cannot stop doing anything even for one moment. It's not possible. Stop, everyone stop doing anything just for 1 second. Not possible. Your heart beat, you breathe, you blinked, your mind said, stop doing something. Not possible. Okay, you have to do something. So Krishna says, karma yoga. Do your work. Karma means your work, your activities. Yoga for me. We do so much every day, right? That's all we do in this world. We just work. This is Kali Yuga. You just work. It's just hard. Hands up if you're enjoying life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I've got half the audience. But the other half are kind of giving me this look like, I know what you're talking about here, Tom. It's work. Okay, and even the people say they're enjoying themselves, but the enjoyment is limited. There's not like unlimited enjoyment. It's just limited. So karma means work. Yoga means we do it for Krishna. We do so much in this world. Just like there's one great teacher from the past in our tradition. His name is Madhvacharya. If you go back, I think 1200 years. Madhvacharya, famous in South India. You're from the south? Or?
Yeah.
From the south, okay. So you know Madhva. Okay. So Madhvacharya says, since we came to this world, we've been here for many lifetimes. He said, in this world we have cried so many tears, we could fill an ocean since we came to this world. Even in this life, imagine if you collect all your tears. Oh, she doesn't love me anymore. Oh, I lost my cat. All the things in your life. So you collect all those tears. Then you go through every life and collect all those tears. He said you could fill an ocean. But he said you did not cry one tear for Krishna. So we work so hard in this world for everything except Krishna. Except for the person who's really important. Do you know C.S. Lewis? Famous author in the West. C.S. Lewis. He wrote The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Many famous books. A children's author, also adults. Very famous. I saw a quote from him a couple of days ago. He was a very religious man. Had a very deep faith in God. Very religious man. So he said, you can look for happiness everywhere in this world. But I can't remember the exact words, but basically he said, if you don't serve God, you will always feel empty. So that's the same thing that we are teaching. We do so much work, we do so much energy we put into everything, but what do we do for Krishna? And unless you work for Krishna, you'll never be happy. I mean, completely happy. You get some happiness, yeah. You know, if your football team wins the grand final, or whatever it is that makes you happy, you know. But you'll never be perfectly happy. This only comes when we serve Krishna. So this is Karma Yoga. This is the first 6 chapters of the Gita. And then we have the last 6 chapters called Jnana Yoga. So this word Jnana means knowledge. Jnana, study. And when we study the books very carefully, what is the goal of the study? If you read all the books, what is the goal of it?
Learn from it?
Yeah, to learn. Yeah, any study we do. We can study maths, we can study science, we can study law, we can study medicine. It's to learn. But when we're talking about spiritual knowledge, what is the ultimate goal? Why do we study the knowledge? We don't just read the book so we can...
For wisdom and to be one with all. For wisdom and to be one with all.
One with?
One with all.
One with all, yeah.
Yeah, one with all. We're all brothers and sisters, no matter
To understand
what we are, we're connected to Source. We're all one with all.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice understanding. Then we're meant to see everything spiritually. See the essence of every living entity. This is called, Krishna says in Gita, 5th chapter, Pandit Samadarshana. Samadarshana. Sama means? Equipoise, equal. Sama means I see you all equally. Sama. Darshan means that's how you see things. Pandit means someone who's very learned. So if you're learned, you should see everything equally. In this world, we say, oh, this one's my friend, this one's my enemy. That's not equal. We all do that. But if you actually have learning, you'll see everyone spiritually, everyone equally. That's the goal of the learning. So Krishna is teaching this in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Jnana Yoga section, the last section of the Bhagavad Gita. So the goal of the teaching, of the learning, of the yoga, if you study, then you have to use the study for something. So that's when jnana and karma become connected. Karma means activity. But the problem in this world is that people work, but there's no thought going on. Just like if you go to our front sign on the front road, what does our sign say? As you drive into our farm. It says Hare Krishna Valley, but more important, what does it say underneath? Yeah, that's on the way down the road. Yeah, we have all the quality. If you go back to the front sign, Hare Krishna Valley, but what's the motto?
To leave your ego.
No, the sign before that.
40 kilometers.
Yeah.
Simple living.
Yeah. The front sign. There's signs everywhere around here. We need a sign at the front saying, welcome to Signville. There's signs Just put a sign up wherever you want. Write your sign and put it. But what does the very first sign say? It says natural living, higher thinking. That's our motto. Natural living. We live naturally, not artificially. That's why we don't have televisions, all these things. Artificial. We live naturally. We have cows, we have vegetables, we have land. Is it good?
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, it is awesome. And higher thinking. The problem with the world these days, people don't think. What's the motto these days? Right? High living, simple thinking. Don't think about anything, just do it. Just like I heard one song on the radio the other day. I was somewhere in some supermarket and they had one radio. The song was going, do what you want to do, be what you want to be, yeah. That's the song. You know the song? From the old days, the 70s? Do what you want to do. Be what you want to be. Yeah. That's the Indian version. Do what you want to do, be what you want to be, yeah. It's the same philosophy everywhere. In Australia or India, it's the same philosophy. You just do whatever you want. But you can't do whatever you want. That's the point. So people don't think these days. Natural living, higher thinking. But here, that is the philosophy. Live naturally, but think very deeply. Go into high things. Think about high things. The meaning of life. This is the goal of life. So that's what the jnana is for. To understand that we are the servant of God, Krishna. This is the teaching. So the knowledge is meant to, so when we act, we do the karma with the knowledge. If you act with knowledge, then you go somewhere. If you don't have knowledge, you can't get to your destination. Just like you came here to Hare Krishna Valley, so you need a map. Well, these days we have a GPS, like that. If you don't have knowledge, someone saying this is the right way to go, you won't get there. So you need guidance, that's the point. So then we have Jnana Yoga, last 6 chapters, Karma Yoga, first 6 chapters, but in the middle is the most important part, that is Bhakti. What does Bhakti mean? Devotion, love. This is the goal. We're meant to love Krishna. That's the essence of existence. You can't give anything to God anyway because He's got everything. What are you going to buy Him for His birthday? Just like I was at the temple in Melbourne 20 years ago. I lived there. I was in the ashram as Brahmachari. I was a monk in the ashram. So someone came to the temple and they brought a present and put it on the altar in front of Krishna. So we took the present, we took it into the paraphernalia room, the back room, and then we opened it up. There was a box of cigars. Okay. So in the West, you think that's a good present. Someone gives you a box of cigars, then go, very good. God doesn't smoke cigars. So they had some good intention, but this is not what He wants. You have to give Him what He wants. And ultimately, you can't give Him anything anyway because He has everything, and everything belongs to Him. So what are you going to give to Him? Everything you're giving to Him is already coming from Him. It's like your kids, on your birthday, they give you a present. Who paid for the present? We pay for that. When my daughter comes and says, give me some money, I'll buy mum a present. So, it's her money, my money. But what's the one thing that she can give, which cannot be brought with money? That is the love. That's what we want. You know Bill Cosby, the famous comedian? Actually, he's gone a bit funny these days. But I forgot that he's gone funny before I mentioned his name. Anyway, he's a famous comedian. But he mentioned a long time ago in one of his comedy skits, then he said that his son, same thing. He gave his son the money. The kid went to school, brought a present, came back, gave it to father on Father's Day. He opened up, and it was the worst tie he had ever seen in his life. Some purple tie with pink dots. You wouldn't be caught dead in that tie, right? But because his son gave it to him with love, he wore that tie all day. Even though he felt like a total fool. Right? But he wore that tie all day. Right? It's the same with Krishna. We can't give anything to Krishna. What are you going to give to Krishna? Everything belonged to him anyway. But he wants our love. That's bhakti. So Krishna says in Gita, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Krishna says, always think of me. Worship me. Offer your namaskar, your pranam to me. And Krishna says, because you are my friend, I will always protect you. This is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. This is bhakti. So this is what yoga is for. Yoga is to understand Krishna actually. Asana, doing postures and breathing, that is just to help us become peaceful so that we can serve Krishna. That's all. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay. You like to add anything to that?
No, thank you.
It's okay. Okay. I can keep my job.
I just had one sloga which I know where he mentions what is knowledge.
Yeah.
In chapter 13 or somewhere.
Yeah.
Which I always learned for the love of it. The sloga was really good. He says, Amanitvam, Adamhitvam, Ahimsa, Shanti, Archavam. And he goes on to say
the qualities
and includes Mahichananya Yogena Bhakti Avyabhicharini, the unalloyed devotion as a part of knowledge as well, in explaining what is knowledge. Something stuck in my mind.
Yeah, he lists the qualities that we should develop of a godly person. And then chapter 16 he does it again. He gives another list. Divine and demoniac natures, like that. Sura, asura. So he says these are the good qualities you should have, and avoid these other qualities. And then he said 3 qualities are the gateway to hell. Hell is not a place where you live forever, but hell is suffering in a future life because of your bad activities. But he said the 3 things that lead you there is lust, anger, and greed. If you're greedy, lustful, or angry, good luck. Because your next life you will suffer. Krishna says the gateway to hell. Patala loka. So, any other question or comment? Anything?
I find it fascinating, I must say, that in the Christian tradition, the really absolutely key commandment was love God with all your heart, soul and mind, and it's very, very similar to the Gita in that sense.
Yeah, we haven't told the whole world yet, but Jesus was actually a Hare Krishna. It's actually a fact, because it can't be proven. Archaeologically we can't prove it, but there is evidence to suggest in the Bible between the age of 12 and 30 there's no mention of his life. If you read the Bible, Jesus, up to the age of 12, there's some story, and then suddenly he's 30. So we call these the lost years of Jesus. So people say, where was he? So there's one book which is very famous called the Aquarian Gospel, which speaks that the whole 18 years he went to India and he toured around India and he learned these things because the philosophy is the same. So it appears that everything he learned was the same as what's taught in India. So we can't prove it, but there's strong evidence to suggest he may have been in India at that time. And there's a white man called Isha, not a white man, but a non-Indian born person, a Middle Eastern person who travelled through India at around that time called Isha. Isha means like the Lord or the controller. So there's evidence that he may have spent that time in India at that time. And then when he was born, it says the wise men came from the east. So east of Jerusalem, we go out that direction. Eventually you'll get towards India. And actually, because Prabhupada, who's the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, he said that you cannot kill the Son of God. That he did not die on the cross. And it's actually interesting because up until the 1980s, they had the Shroud of Turin, which you may be familiar with. This was a cloth, they said, covered the body of Jesus when he was put into the grave, where he was placed. So they had that cloth, and up until the 1980s, they used to bring that cloth out once a year, and thousands of people would come to circumambulate and to see that cloth. Actually, the shroud that covered the body of Christ himself 2,000 years ago. But then it was carbon dated, and they said, no, it's a fraud. It wasn't actually from that age. But I heard, unofficially off the record, the reason that they put it away was because when they carbon dated it, actually it was correct, it was that time, but the wounds were flowing. In other words, there wasn't a dead body. The wounds were still flowing. And it actually says in the Bible, a lot of things were removed from the Bible, especially by Constantine in the 3rd century. A lot of things were removed from the original work. Reincarnation and those things. Interesting, even though they tried to take reincarnation out of the Bible, still it's there. Because Jesus says at one point, he comes before I think it's a blind man, and the disciples say, he says, we will perform a miracle. We will cure him of his blindness. And the apostles say, why is he blind? Because of what he did in this life or the previous life? So even though they've removed lots of things, but it's still there. And this is reincarnation. So Jesus wasn't. He understood all that. In India, everyone believes in reincarnation. And Jesus, these are obvious things. So, in the Bible, that's right, the Shroud of Turin, it says in the Bible actually that when he was taken off the cross, they put aloe, which is aloe vera, onto his wound. Now, aloe you put onto a wound to heal it. Means it would imply the person may have been alive to heal the wound. So there's evidence there which could strongly suggest the person was alive. So, as we know, he resurrected 3 days later, performed the miracle. And it doesn't mention about how he left or where he died or anything like that. But there's also very strong evidence to suggest his tomb is in Kashmir, which is the northern state of India. And even to this day, you can go to a place where the man called Isha, from the Middle East, the saint, you can still go there to that day, to that place. So basically, our conclusion is a Hare Krishna. And if he came back today, he would be about as popular as the Hare Krishna movement is. It's got some popularity, but it's not taking over everything. And I think Jesus, it would be exactly the same. I mean, you look back in those days, he could only attract a small following. Because if he came back now, he'd be telling everyone exactly what we're telling them. They don't like to hear it. So in our opinion, he's our guru actually. Because Prabhupada went to a church in Melbourne. And when he walked in, there's a statue of Jesus, and Prabhupada bowed like that. And Prabhupada said, he is our guru. So that's how we see him. And if he was living in Melbourne, he'd go to Gopal's every day. Of course, we give him everything for free. Because back then he was a carpenter. This time he might be a lawyer or something. I don't know. You like to add anything else?
I struggle with the notion of a lawyer being at that level, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he'd be a carpenter again. I'm not sure.
So how do you
Yes, madam.
find with the Buddhism? Because Buddhism is a way of life, and what you were saying, Buddhism is looking out for each other, living by love, like the karma. Karma is the laws of the universe. Like how do you, because Buddhism has their own temples and have their own symbols too, but really there's one God, and how everybody, I believe how everybody resonates, how they resonate themselves from their own heart, because we are all one and one God. And in the end it is all one, from one God. So there's so many temples and there's so many religions, and I've had my experience in some religions and I find it very binding, very conforming, you're not a free spirit. Everyone's going to be a free spirit, and everyone has their own will, and we choose to. But if we choose God's will over our self-will, that's when we find that life, that love, that peace, that unity, that harmony coming through, channeling through us. So we can channel that out to our brothers and sisters, even though you get rejected, even though they're closed off. But if you flow, just have that channel flowing, that river flowing. There's ones, it's just been like a lifeline. Once you have been opened up, but you have to deal with the pains and the emotions and the hurts deep down inside ourselves, our karma, what we have to take in from the karma, the hurts we dish out to others. That's how I see it. We have to really facing ourselves for that new, higher self to come alive within. And there's so many temples, and I find myself now, the beach, the book, like out in nature is my temple, and and talking to, I just feel so connected.
Yeah, because all of the great teachings of the world, ultimately they come from one source.
Exactly.
It's like, same as what Andrew was saying. It's so similar.
Yes, very.
And Buddha appeared in Gaya. Gaya is in India. And for a period of time, Buddhism was the main religion in India. But then it was driven out. That's why now you don't see Buddhism in India so much. It's more in the outskirts. Sri Lanka is Buddhist. Tibet. It was driven out. These were when different kings came. The king, it was Ashoka, the king Ashoka, 3,000 years ago. He was a Buddhist. So then the whole of India became a Buddhist colony. But then in due course of time, when another king came and he was Hindu, then Buddhism was taken. But if you look at the essence of the teachings, basically they're the same. Buddhist philosophy is similar. But still there is slight differences. Slight. Because
that connection to the higher power to flow through.
When we talk about the higher power, we have to have clear definition. It's like when you have the television. In the old days, you had to tune it. You had to carefully, remember the old televisions? You had to take half an hour just to get the picture, get the clarity. These days, everything just automatic. So in the same way, to understand God, there needs to be clarity there. Because in Buddhism, they don't actually believe in God. They believe in nirvana, which is actually means nothing. It means void. So it's a little bit different. The way they live is similar to us, but their goal is a little. So we need to have clarification of the goal. And understanding what the goal is, that's the point. Because when you leave the farm today, if you turn right, you go to Winchelsea. If you turn left, you go to Lawn. And there's many variants, because there's many offshoots as well. So not all roads lead to the same path. You have to know exactly where you're going and what you want. So in Buddhism, they're similar. The way they live is similar, but their goal is not clear compared to ours. It's different. Their goal is nirvana, ours is Krishna. So we have to know what our goal is by study, by, as you said. Because like you said, you can find Krishna anywhere. You can find him on the beach anywhere. Where if you're Krishna conscious, which is what the Hare Krishnas, that's what we practice, we think of God wherever we are. When we're on the surfboard in the ocean looking at the sun rising, you can think of Krishna. Like that. Yeah, so it's up to...
The name, Krishna is the name of God. Everyone is source, God, higher power.
Yeah.
It's just like there's so many religions, so many names, but you know in your heart what resonates with you.
Yeah, so you got to find that resonation.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like, as you said, there are so many names, but it's like me, right? So my name's Kesava. So if you haven't met me before, you'll see me from a distance and you'll say, oh, that person, I've met him before, I met him down at the Nightjar market, like that, but what's his name? Yeah, you know the person, oh, that's the guy, he's from the Hare Krishnas. Then you came in and said, oh, this is a guy, he lives here at the Hare Krishna Valley, he's the manager. And then what's his name? Right? Because then that becomes personal. Then when you know the guy, next time you see me at the night, you say, oh, Kesava, how you doing? So in the same way, the light, the source, God, all these things, we know what we're talking about. It's like the person. Oh yeah, that's who we're talking about. Then what's the name of the person? So then the Vedic teachings give you like the final information. Oh yeah, by the way, his name's Krishna. He has many names.
Yeah.
But Krishna is a very intimate name. It's like when you go behind the closed doors, you get into God's inner chambers, his inner circle. It's very intimate. So Krishna is that name. So the teachings are very similar in all the teachings. But so we still need the clarity. We should not forget that.
With the vegetarian, because I know quite a few people who are vegetarian, but they still eat fish, seafood, and it was in the Bible where Jesus fed the multitude, had the basket of fish, and they had multiplied and just kept feeding out, and they had fish as a man, and they were fishing. So how do you see with eating the seafood?
Well, by definition, a vegetarian means, if we break down the word, it says vegetarian. So if you eat fish, you're not a vegetarian. You're an aquarian. Yeah, because you're eating what comes from the water, aqua.
Said that fish was there to eat.
Okay, so in the Bible, this is one of the problems. Prabhupada, who's the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, he said that what we have now, what we call Christianity, is actually churchianity. Christianity was what Christ taught. What we have these days is not necessarily exactly what Christ taught. Right? Now, if you go back to the Aramaic, to the original language of the Bible, ancient Greek and Latin, the original texts, for example, in Aramaic, the word krias means flesh, meat. Right? The words like brome and phosphate and like these, they mean nourishment. So if you go to the original text of the Bible, there's no mention of the word which means flesh in connection to Christ. Right? There's the Last Supper, there's the Sermon on the Mount where he handed everything out, but there's no mention anywhere in the original languages that he was handing out fish. It doesn't say that. Right? He was pulling bread, because it says in the Bible these days, if you read it these days, it said he handed out bread and fish. But in the original text, right, it says nourishment, so bread, like that. It never says directly, clearly, that there was flesh. So as Hare Krishnas, because we believe Jesus is and was a Hare Krishna, we don't believe that he ever ate meat or taught people to eat meat, like that. The only time you eat meat is in an emergency situation. Like, if I'm somewhere and then suddenly there's a war, which may or may not happen, and there's nothing else to eat but fish, I'll eat fish to keep myself alive so I can teach exactly what I'm doing here. But, that's a very, very, very rare circumstance which I don't foresee happening in my life. And at this point in time, when you have a choice, there's no excuse.
because it states a lot of fishing, like let thy nets begin and cast your nets out. So why was all that? Because there was a lot of fishing mentioned in the...
Because he was in Jerusalem, he was in the Middle East,
Yeah,
and the people he was teaching, their occupation, they were fishermen.
yeah,
So he said, okay, have a miracle. They threw the net out that side, poured it in nothing, and then he said, throw it out that side. Suddenly there's all these fish. And they said, oh, he walked on water. He did all these things. This is not the kind of thing, he had to do that to inspire them to follow him. So he was doing all these miracles and everything, just so people would say, oh, it's like Sai Baba here. You've heard of Sai Baba? He died a few years ago, you know, the haircut from India, like that. So he would do all the magic tricks. That's how he got so many followers. Like, and then there was like a ring or a necklace or something. But they have video footage where at one time, because he always wore the big kaftan, like the big, you know, like that. There's one footage where the camera angle, he pulls out a necklace from under a statue, and then he goes, like that. So it was all,
deception.
yeah, it was deception like that. But when people do that, you know, start doing magic, everyone says, oh, like that. So same with Jesus, he had to do these things just so they'd start listening to him. You know, he's dealing with people who weren't very, you know, spiritually progressed, that's all. You know, they're fishermen and like that. Not that he was like a, you know, he didn't sit down and say, okay, what's for dinner tonight, fish fingers or, you know. He's the Son of God, he's not going to, you know, we know as Hare Krishnas, he wouldn't be eating like that. So. Any other points from what we have discussed?
So I have one more question. So on that note on vegetarianism and eating meat,
Yeah.
there is a phrase in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna specifies, even as a dog eater who surrenders to me, I'll give him, if he considers me as a friend. So is that means, whatever he means by that is the total surrender to Krishna. If I am in a position where my job is to fishing, say I'm a fisherman, I eat meat, but I am considering Krishna as my friend, but dedicating fish to him every day and then eating myself, would you say that's a highest form of bhakti yoga or not?
That's the lowest form of bhakti yoga. It's actually not bhakti yoga because the definition of bhakti is, what's the verse from Rupa Goswami? Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana kamadyanavritam anukuyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiya uttama. The definition of bhakti, it must be anukul. Anukul means you do it with a good intention. Like, I do something for you, but if I'm not really happy when I do it, it doesn't make you feel so good. So we do something for Krishna, it must be anukul, not pratikul. Anukul means you must do it. But it must be also anushilana, which means you have to do the right thing. Like I said before, someone gave cigars to Krishna, so that was not right. You don't go to the temple and put cigars. The heart was good, he meant well, but so he needs a guru. He needs someone to teach him what is right, what is wrong. So that he can serve Krishna properly. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I don't touch the offerings which are made of the flesh. This is called tamagun, food in darkness. Krishna does not eat that. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya priyachchahati. So Krishna says, I will take flowers, fruits, water, leaves, like that. He had the opportunity to say, you know, Big Mac and all those things. He didn't say like that. So it's well known. Anyone who's a Vaishnava, a follower of Krishna, we all know he doesn't eat meat. So you can say, well, you know, I eat the fish, I'm a fisherman, and then I offer it to Krishna with love because that's all there is. But Krishna doesn't eat it. He doesn't accept it. Even in the Bible it says God does not take those foods. No? So then if you are a fisherman, change your job. It's not like that's the only thing you can do. Change your job. Krishna will provide for you. He'll give you. If you have faith, Shraddha.
That's the faith that's important, that's just going to transform you.
Yeah, of course. Because there are requirements or guidelines. So Krishna says you cannot eat meat and you cannot offer it to him. So therefore, because you cannot eat it and offer it to him, then you have to work your life out so you can do that. You can't say, I don't have any choice. You do have a choice, especially in this day and age. Okay, 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, maybe something is there, but now, I mean, you just go to the supermarket, you can buy everything you want. It's like we're living in Swagaloka now. Why do you live in Melbourne instead of Delhi? Because Australia is Swagaloka. Why do all the Indians come here? What's the second biggest group that are coming into Australia at the moment? People from India. Why? Because it's Swaga, Australia. The streets are clean. You can drive down the street without, 20 different things going in the way. Right? Horns aren't going all the time. That's why people come here. It's Swaga. And you write to your cousin and your auntie, come. You can make money. You can make money in 1 year that take you 20 years in India to make, like that. So it's Swagaloka. So we come here, but that's not the goal. You don't come here just to follow the Western people and do what they do. Eat the meat and, do all these things. It's not. Then you lose your culture. Our culture is the Bhagavad Gita. This is your culture. And I've accepted this culture through knowledge. Because my guru has taught me this is what I should do, so now I'm also doing. So we should understand what it is that Krishna wants. Otherwise, you say it's bhakti, I offer the fish with love, but Krishna says, but I don't eat it. You know Duryodhana? Mm-hmm. Okay, back in Mahabharata. So Krishna came, right? Duryodhana was there. So Krishna came to stop the war. Duryodhana, just give half. Pandavas, half the kingdom. Bharadvash, other half, Kauravas. No problem. Krishna's a peaceful person. No problem. Half, no problem. Duryodhana said no. He cooked a big feast for Krishna. Big feast. Right? He said, take your meal. Krishna said, I will not take one mouthful. Because you are envious of Arjuna. And he is my suhrit, my best friend. He said, if you want me to eat, you give half each. Be fair. Duryodhana said, capture him. So then Krishna showed this. So after that, Krishna left and he walked outside, went to the next house, the next palace. It was Vidura. Walked in, and what did Vidura give? Banana. But Vidura was so happy, Krishna was there, he was crying. He's so happy. He said to his wife, bring the banana. She brought the banana, he peeled the banana, gave Krishna the banana peel, threw the banana away. Normally we give the banana and throw the peel away. He gave the banana peel, and Krishna, I never got banana peel before, but he gave with love, so started eating banana peel. And Vidura thought, oh my God, what did I just do? And took that off Krishna and gave him the banana. Like that. So the point is, Krishna will accept from his devotee, even if not perfect, not meat, but I wouldn't offer banana peel, but the point is he will take it. But when Duryodhana offered everything else, he won't touch it. So we have to understand things properly. Okay, good question. He's a good man, this man. You look after him. He's a good man. Okay? Look after him. Any other question? Yes, sir.
So a butcher who works as his profession, he kills meat every day.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't eat meat, does that make him a good person?
Once again, you have to define goodness. Okay, so he thinks he's a good person, but then there's just violence being committed.
That's his living.
Yeah, but I just spoke about that. I just said that. Right? Change your job. It's not like that's the only job. No one's forcing you to be a butcher. There's Hare Krishnas who were butchers. When they found this knowledge, they stopped being butchers. I've got Hare Krishna friends who work in Coles, and they say to the boss, I'll work in the fruit and veg section, but I'm not touching the other stuff. Right? And the boss said, okay, no problem. So don't say there's no opportunities, or there's, if you say there's no other way, then that's just an excuse. And actually, the Vedas say 6 people are implicated, right? The person who kills the animal, the person who transports the animal, the person who buys the flesh, the person who cooks it, the person who serves it, and the person who eats it. They get 1/6 each, right? And the king gets 1/6 of everything in the country. All the karma in the country, the leader gets 1/6. That's why the leader in the Vedic times, you see Yudhishthira, right? Parikshit, Ramachandra himself. Tight kingdom. No one was doing these things because the king gets 1/6 of the karma. So very strict. Parikshit says in the Bhagavatam, when Parikshit came, he saw Kali was beating the bull. He got off and grabbed him, took his sword. He was going to kill him because he was beating an animal. The king will not tolerate these things. So don't be a butcher.
No.
Don't buy it. Don't sell it. Don't cook it. Don't serve it. Don't transport it, and don't eat it. Okay? Otherwise come around your house with a stick. Like the old days in India. Everyone's sentimental these days. Oh, I eat meat, it's okay. You know, do what. Yeah, just be a nice person. What's a nice person? TK? Okay.
One more question.
Okay, be quick.
About the 3 things which contribute to go to hell.
Lust, anger, greed.
Yeah. So everybody in the world, I would think, would get angry at least once in their life. Does that mean everyone goes to hell?
Once is okay.
Right?
Once is okay.
Once is okay.
Yeah, twice, that's a big problem. No, that's just sorry. It means you have to learn to control anger. If you want to progress, you must control it. Right? Anger is caused by frustrated desire. Why do we become angry? Like you see a kid, right? Kids are easy to understand. But if you want to understand adults, just look at kids, right? You take something from the kid, right? And the kid goes, becomes angry because you frustrated his desire. Right? And adults are exactly the same. Right? They're angry because their desires are not. So the point is, you change your desire. Stop desiring everything for me. Desire for Krishna. Then you don't get angry. Right? So you have to learn to control anger. Anger is in all of us. All of us become angry, that's there. But you have to learn to control it by purifying your desire. If you're too much into yourself, you'll always be angry. He said so people around the world, everyone's too into it, and then they're angry. Oh, you did this to me. Oh, that's a... Who cares? Just be humble and peaceful. And just like the other day, I said I was in the bank. And then this man is becoming out. I was like, what? So I just took I thought, if I escalate here, this thing's just going to go in the bank. Right? So I said, okay, you just have the spot, no problem. Done. Right? And then as he left, he said something to me. You know, just had to have the last, and then I thought, okay, just let it go. Just let it go. A little bit of anger was in my heart because I thought, who is this guy? But I just thought, let it go. And then you can move on peacefully. Otherwise, your whole day you're disturbed. You're thinking about that guy, and just let it go. That's his problem, not my problem. You can't change him, but you can change how you react to him. So anger can be controlled. It can be controlled. It's a force. Anger is not a negative thing. Anger is a good thing, but only in the right circumstance. Right? If someone comes here now, someone drives up, jumps out, starts like smashing things and like this. Okay, Dougie and me, you'll see something different. Seriously. Like we'll get up and that'll be different. You'll see anger like that, but only in that circumstance. Then it's okay. That's good anger. Okay, anger is not a bad thing, but it must be controlled. It's like a tool. You have a tool. Okay, so you pick it up, you use it, then you put it down. Like that. But if it controls you, okay, that takes you to hell. Lust, greed, anger, not controlled, hell. But when it's controlled, no problem. It's okay? Okay. Keep my job. One more week. Okay. Thank you very much. Is anyone hungry? Okay, no one's hungry. We'll see you next time.